My mind is a raging torrent, flooded with rivulets of thought, cascading into a waterfall of creative alternatives.
Oh, darn it, Mr. Lamar. You use your tongue prettier than a $20 whore.
Hi, this is Cadillac, and this is the Cage Rage Podcast.
Miguel Arati back on the Cage Rage Podcast.
Hey, this is Cadillac. We are back to talk about UFC 231. We're talking about the co-main event, which is technically the main event, which is Ortega and Holloway. And let's see, they are, Holloway is 19-3, and T-City is 13-0. So we've got a huge fight on our hands. You're saying 14-0? My stats say 13-0 on the UFC fight card, but okay, I'm off somehow. But okay, whatever. He's 14-0 then.
Sure, dog has him at 14-0. I mean, I'm not gonna. I think it's 14-0, but we're in good shape. I mean,
okay, whatever the stats are. Here's the real stats that I want to talk about, though. I want to talk about the stats of something that hardly ever happens. You got two guys that are 27 years old. You've got two guys that are about the same height, 68 inches and 71 inches. So Holloway's taller. We all know that. He's a longer guy. They're both going to walk in at 145 pounds, and they're both going to walk in, and they're going to be pretty close to that weight when they step in the scales. They don't cut a lot of weight to make it. You know, these are kind of 10-pound weight cutter kind of guys because they're in such phenomenal condition that they don't need to cut a lot of weight. They just stay in fight shape all the time. They're kind of like a Chris Lytle kind of guy, where Lytle was at 170, and if he cut 3 pounds, that was a lot of weight for him. And so he was always fresh. He was always ready to fight, and he would beat a lot of guys in late rounds simply because he was still fresh, and they were tired from cutting weight. And then the one thing that's really crazy about this is although Holloway's got him by a few inches, by 3 inches. In reach, they're exactly the same at 69 inches, which is pretty crazy. Which means that Ortega's got really long arms for his size. So that does a lot of different things, including allows him to do strange things with his jiu-jitsu. And we already know that Holloway does strange things with his jiu-jitsu. He's a Eddie Bravo prodigy. You got Ortega is a Gracie jiu-jitsu prodigy. I'm surprised they haven't called him Brian Gracie yet. That's probably coming somewhere down the line. I don't know if they do that anymore, but they used to do it a lot. Right, Hodger Gracie, right? Anyway, Roger that. Okay, so Miguel, talk to me. What you got?
Well, I was saying, yeah, it's a super fight. I like the fight. You're calling it the best fight of the year on paper. You're up there because really you're talking about the recovery of the 145-pound weight class, right? Now
Yes.
we get to come front and center with this weight class. Nobody's mentioning Conor McGregor anymore, except for maybe that the last time Holloway lost so many years ago was to McGregor, and he's been on a winning streak since. But there isn't that specter of him hanging over or wanting the belt or inserting himself into the championship. There's two guys that deserve to be there, right? McGregor seemed to insert himself into the title picture when he was in this weight class. He seemed to got rushed when he went into 155 pounds. There were other contenders that kind of got put aside for McGregor, and it led to a little bit of a sideshow atmosphere. So now we're past that at 145. McGregor's moved on. At 145 now we got firm competition, and that's what this is. Holloway, very tough. I hate it that we have to bring up an asterisk with Holloway, but I do want to bring up, you say 27 years old. They're both 27 years old. I understand that. I don't know if Holloway may not have a little bit more mileage on him, and sometimes, there's a point where mileage is good, experience is good until it becomes too much mileage, right? So, when I thought it was a little bit of a flag should go up when he stepped in on short notice to fight Nurmagomedov after the bus incident with McGregor. Nurmagomedov wound up fighting Ally Quinta because Holloway could not be medically cleared to fight. Now, is that because he was weighing 190 and the commission didn't want him to cut all that weight in 2 weeks? Or was it for other reasons? I don't know. But after that, he's had fights postponed because of showing up and having concussion symptoms and stuff before the fight. So I think you're talking about a guy who maybe at times with the training, may get beat up or whatever.
Okay.
But when he's sharp, he's as dangerous as they come. As probably a top 3 pound for pound guy.
Okay, so you just contradicted something that I said at the beginning of this introduction, which is that these guys are always in shape, they're always ready to fight, and they're not going to come in much heavier than they are. So when Holloway was called for that fight, and you said he was at 190, is that a fact or is that conjecture on your part?
I'm speculating.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The fact is, it was
because
if
what?
I remember correctly, maybe more information came out after the fight. But when the Holloway fight went by the wayside, and they went with Ally Quinta, then all you get is Quinta, and Holloway kind of fades off. The way I remember it, now more news came out afterwards. I apologize for missing it, but the way I remember it was medically uncleared, very vague.
Okay, because the reason I say that is because Eddie Bravo said on a podcast that I caught that Holloway is always, that he's a gym rat, that you have to lock the doors and kick him out, and that guy is always, always, always on weight. He said that guy could make weight in 10 minutes anytime you ask him to. I mean, he could make weight in 2 days anytime you needed to. So, 10 pounds is pretty much, his cutting weight is 10 to 15 pounds, which is nothing. Now,
see, that's where there's all kinds of caveats in the modern game and extreme cases. And if Holloway is one of those dudes that says, like, I'll give you a good example of a guy who looked at a 25-pound weight cut in 2-3 days and didn't really flinch when he was in his prime, was Chael Sonnen. Chael would do it. And so if he's one of those, that the weight cut from wrestling, from the mindset that the weight cut is what you're a freaking doing and stuff, or you're not too worried about it, then who knows? Maybe always on weight he can make it in 2 days. Does that mean he's always 10 pounds off, or does that mean that he's crazy enough to try to shed 30?
I guess I took that. I guess I took that to mean that he was 10 to 15, only because he's not a natural wrestler.
Okay, and you may
so
be
so
right.
I'm reading something into it that may not be right as well. I'm taking some.
I'm just all I'm bringing up with Holloway. I hope we have a great fight and that this becomes an asterisk of a conversation no one cares.
Yeah.
But I think Holloway is one of those guys you kind of got to watch when he's fighting because of his medical record. Fight canceled, fight this and that.
Yes.
And, concussions and things, and the way he fights and the way he trains and stuff. None of that helps when you're trying to assess. Is the guy, the last person you want to ask, hey, you all right to fight, is the guy.
Right. Okay, so talk to me about why you're worried specifically about concussion.
Because
that's what you're really getting at here. You've been dancing around it. Talk to me about concussion, because that's what you're worried about.
After he was not cleared to fight Nurmagomedov, he had his normal fight scheduled, and that fight was postponed because he showed up at the weigh-ins with concussion symptoms. The doctor said, hey, he's answering 1, 2, 3. He's not there. There's something wrong with this guy. He's got concussion symptoms. So with that being the case, this is before the fight. Maybe he took a fucking knee, horsing around and warming up, in the gym or in the room, and he took a knee and it rung his bell. Or he trains hard and he shows up dinged up. You know,
Happens all
there's
the time.
stories. I mean, Mikey Burnett told me a story about training at the Lions Den where one of the guys that was that's a senior guy there knocked him out 5 days before a world title fight.
Sure.
And they cleaned him up. They gave him smelling salts, and they marched that boy right into that fight.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that is kind of the way some of the schools and some of the mentalities think. In a case like Holloway, where Holloway's not really gotten breakaway money, I don't think he's gotten into the Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey world of paydays. Right? So why would you turn down fights? Why would you postpone fights? Why would you do any of that? You're not going to do any of that. You can't ask him. So now you need an outside assessment just to make sure, just to be safe.
Yeah. When just for whatever it's worth, in the old days, we had the Animal House fighting systems back in ancient times when I was fighting, and our motto was fight harder than you fight in the ring, so that when you fight in the ring, no one can surprise you with anything. And so we beat each other, and this is back when most of it was bare knuckle and stuff. And so we beat each other up so badly in practice that nothing surprised us in the ring. But I mean, it was nothing for 2 or 3 people to get completely knocked out in practice. And so, of course, that's changed drastically over the years as we've learned more and more. But nobody knew anything back then. And that still happens in practice. Just because 2 guys will start to spar, they'll start to spar a little harder, a little harder, a little harder. And the next thing you know, pop, somebody catches somebody. Or somebody's gotten knocked out. And then once you get knocked out, and we keep promising to do this, and we'll go into a full assessment of what post-concussion syndrome is all about and how it works, and why once you get knocked out once, it's easier to get knocked out again, and then easier and easier and easier, and how that works in the brain. We'll go through all that neurologically and do the science on a different podcast one day. But so we're worried about that with Holloway, but let's hope to God that that's...
Before we beat that horse and before we get to Ortega, let me give you an example of something I learned from the athletes I've been lucky enough to be around. All right, I'm going to give you the names afterwards.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to preface it by saying 2 of the most elite athletes I've ever seen. All right? The question was simple. It's like, when you train, how do you train? Do you train 100%? Do you go? How do you do that? And one of them said, I train to exhaustion every time. 100%, everything. And the other guy, just as elite, said, I go 80%. I know I have an explosion. I explode maybe once a week, once every 10 days. I go 80%, and then I've also got that explosion, that extra lift in my foot. So completely different philosophies, but they work for their guys. So that's the thing is there's no one magic formula for everybody.
Okay.
And everybody has to know that. And a lot of it is philosophy. Do you click with the people you're training with? Is everybody on the same page and stuff? So if the mentality is we train hard, because I think that's basically the thing is are you the kind of gym that the air conditioner's broken, everybody goes home? Or are you the kind of gym that the air conditioner's broken, everybody stays the next round? It's just a mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, you better fucking stay if the air conditioner's broke.
That's a big deal. The 2 athletes I was telling you about are Mark Kerr and Mike Van Arsdale. Just, if you weigh them. Completely different philosophies, both from the wrestling world. Just go look at who they were and what they crossed over in MMA, which is how I got to know them. But go look at what...
Van Arsdale 100%, Kerr 80?
No, the reverse.
The reverse.
Yeah,
so
and to be honest, with Mark, I'm not sure. With Van Arsdale, I can tell you I got a sincere answer at 80%. Mark, it may have even been a little bit of bluster because Mark, was a complicated human being.
That's true.
But Mark did say he went 100% every time. And when we saw him train, Mark was a cerebral athlete. Mark was at his peak. Mark was the most dangerous man on the planet.
I would agree with that at his peak. Yeah. Keith Wisniewski. Well, we bring up the Wisniewski brothers a lot in here, the Polish connection. And Justin told me one time that if someone doesn't get knocked out in practice, that they will blow the whistle and say, "Pick it up, guys. We have work to be done." They went 100% all the time.
You know, and that's the thing is I think if you can moderate the philosophy to a certain extent and make it work for you, it becomes dangerous or extreme or whatever. But you know, you want a hard-working gym, right? I think that's the philosophy. That's why I think it's more complicated than individual. You know, you got to know the individuals and stuff to really talk about it. And with Holloway, I'm talking about the dangerousness of just the mindset to get to the elite level he's gotten. He's not a guy, like I said, I wouldn't ask him, hey, you all right, man? Because he's going to tell you, yeah, he's fine.
Right. Yeah, I'm great. Everything's good. I'm fine. He has to be evaluated. Definitely. Okay, so we've got Holloway.
You know,
so talk to me about
that, but I, you know.
So talk to me about T-City then. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, freak of nature, coming at us from every angle. What's up?
We've got an elite fight here, and the thing with Holloway and the way, you know, with the feats of Aldo and his winning streak since the McGregor loss and stuff, where, you know, he's whitewashed people, really. He's been really, really, really on a trajectory that's just been pure this way without very many bumps in the road at all, and just in good shape. But Ortega is a little bit of a fresher body, while the fact is at 14-0, Ortega's competition level, when you consider that, you know, he's coming off a win over Frankie Edgar, you know. So, I mean, Edgar may be a little bit older at this point, but that's Frankie Edgar. You know, that's a full lightweight. So you can't say Ortega doesn't have a competition level compared to what his opponent's bringing. You know, before Edgar, Cub Swanson's a veteran.
Yeah.
You know, Clay Guida, Diego Brindao, those guys have all been around a long, long time, you know, for him to face down. You know, Renato Carnero, I don't know much about. He may have a nickname I know, but I don't know who he is. But he's looked good and fantastic in every fight, knocking out Edgar in round one. Maybe it's the beginning of the end for Edgar, you know. But you need a guy like this who brings you to those steps. You know what I mean? Edgar gets into 5-round slugfest with guys he's even with, and you extend his career. But now here, maybe, you know, you find that Edgar, there's a level above Frankie Edgar now, and Brian Ortega is that level.
So what about the height factor? He hasn't faced anyone quite like Holloway in that he seems to always be the longer guy, and even though he is he's got what I say, the 2-inch reach advantage or whatever. Oh no, the reach advantage is the same. Where did I get that? Oh, I know what it was. He's 3 inches shorter than Holloway, but his reach advantage is the same. So that was the difference. Okay, so he's a guy that's got like an extremely excessively long reach. His arms are just very long. He's got monkey arms, you know, and so because of that, he's able to do some really strange things, including find all those really weird guillotines, get his arms crossed in and underneath the chin to finish from the back. You know, able to get in, pull the arms loose. You know, when somebody's trying to ball up and protect themselves and keep the arm bar in. You know, he can kind of finagle and swim his way into to get that kind of stuff, and a lot of that has to do with the way his body's shaped, the way his arms are long like that. This guy I trained with, Kevin Kopecky, who just got his black belt last year. He's living in Cali now. Hey, Kevin, what's up, brother? I love you. He's a beast like that, just a super long, gangly guy. And just nobody could touch the guy in the gym because of the way he's built. And I wonder what that's going to be like for Holloway to face a guy who's longer than him for once. Because I don't think Holloway's seen that, has he? Maybe McGregor. Cub Swanson, I guess, is pretty tall and long in the weight class. I'd have to look at the stats and stuff. No, I think here it goes. You know, just like the first fight with Joanne and Valentina, I think this fight goes. You know, the early question goes one of two ways. The early question is, does it become a chess match, or does it become a war of attrition? You know, because if these guys kind of face off, they see they're even, and they start circling and things like that, we could be looking at a little bit of a boring fight. Now, I don't think that's in the makeup of either guy, right? So that leaves us, Not
Them coming
Holloway.
head to head. Yeah, that once said, it seems unlikely that that'll happen, right? Now, it could happen, but it seems unlikely. So now what happens here is now you've got them coming and meeting themselves head on. They both kind of like to dictate the pace and be the first to get off, right? And I think so if they both go to get off first, who's going to get off first? I don't know, but that's going to answer a lot of the questions. Then from there, both of these two main event fights have the potential to be knockdown, drag-out fights, and guys with a tendency to leave them in the ring. Holloway, I think, has been excellent on his run. I think my little asterisk and an X factor, if Ortega is able to take his rush and answer and do some damage to Holloway, Max is going to be fighting on instinct. His instinct is going to be enough to carry him and stuff, but sometimes that's noticeable in a fight. When a guy is now a step slow, he's been hurt, and things like that. And I really, really just want to, watch that. I'd hate to see that fight end, in a way that's dangerous to Max. If he gets caught, dropped, and then submitted with an ankle lock or whatever, Max is going to be as pissed as anybody else. He's in an MMA fight, so he's already going to take more head damage. He's already going to damage himself a little more in the long term of things. You want to mitigate that, and you just hope you don't see a knockout. Knockouts that are flush, they're so entertaining for the crowd and stuff like that. But in this guy's case, with his history, I don't. God, I hope I'm not saying I told you so after because I brought it up, but it was just on my mind. It's the kind of thing that if you're watching the sport again, it's been our theme for the recent podcast. Is it good for the sport? Is a highlight knockout good for the sport? Yeah, if everybody walks away and fights another day. But is Max a guy at this point that I'd rather not see him go through that? Yeah, I think Max has put in his miles in the sport, and he's at that position, and it makes me reticent. So we'll see. Hopefully, we have a stack to fight. Everything goes according to plan, and Max, is training to fight in 6 months again. You know what I mean? But he showed up with concussion symptoms at a weigh-in. He hadn't fought yet. And it's not like his coaches and everybody around him. Somebody hit him in the head. It's not, but he was like, "No, I'm fine. Okay, everybody's marching along. Yeah, he's fine. Go. We're gonna fight. I'm fine. Hey, what time is the weigh-in for? Okay, yeah, that's fine. No, we'll be fine. What time is the weigh-in? He's that repeated question. Somebody had to notice something. The camp came to weigh-ins trying to get away with the fight. The commission kind of did their job. Said, I don't know. There's something there. And then I consider Shu a friend, and I think Shu considers me a friend. I hope he doesn't get mad at me, but Shu happens to be Holloway's manager. I asked him for something to say about this, and no response came. So maybe they missed my email, or maybe they don't want to talk about stuff maybe we should be talking about.
Okay, so hey, Miguel, let's get ready to wrap this up. But real quick, what are the odds? Have you got the odds in front of you?
Yeah, we got a real super tight fight with this one right now. I got the odds. Have Max Holloway at a minus 114 favorite and minus 118 favorite. I'm sorry, and Ortega kicking back at plus 104.
Wow.
So close odds, tight odds. Anyone interested or not sure what that means? Minus 118 means you got to bet $118 to win 100. That's the bet on Holloway. You bet 118, you win 100 if he wins. And on Ortega, you win 100. You win 104 for betting 100 as the underdog. So that's what those odds mean. So it's a real tight fight. Holloway slightly favored. That could even change by fight time.
Yeah, I mean, by the time they do weigh-ins and they see him, facing off and things like that, something like that could change pretty quickly. Here's my pick for it. I'm going to pick Ortega, and I'm going to pick him. Okay, I'm going to say it. I'm going to pick Ortega to submit Holloway, and I know that sounds crazy, but I'm going to pick Ortega. I'm not going to pick a round. I'm just going to say Ortega submits Holloway by choke. I don't know what, just by choke. I don't know why. I'm just going to say that. I've got my reasons. I've went through it several different ways. If that doesn't happen, then we have a decision. So I'm hoping that we have a finish because I don't want a decision. And as you've talked about already, I don't want to see Max get knocked out. But just to address that real quickly, hey, Max is in this for the long haul. He's 27 years old. So if he wants to fight for another 3 or 4 years, which obviously he does, he's going to take a lot of headshots yet. And so he's going to have to make a decision to either get a big money fight, which this one's not it. It should be, but it's not, unfortunately. And so, you know, he's got to get a big money fight in very soon, or his days are numbered. And because they're numbered either way, if what we've been talking about winds up being the case, which it sounds like it is. If he has ApoE4 in his genetic line, all the worse. We can talk about that when we go over the science of brain trauma. What do you think, Miguel?
Yeah, no, I apologize for asking the question, putting a negative slant on what is normally a great fight. I hope it's not an issue, you know, but what we're doing is we're taking an issue of headshots, and we're still sweeping it under the carpet a little bit, because I think it should be a good question here, you know, with Max. Obviously, you know, he's going to be cleared to fight, and he's had a couple of weeks or months to clear his head if he had a concussion and stuff. So at some point, you don't want to take away people's you know, ability to make a living. But what's weird to me, though, is a little bit of the denial that comes from Max himself, and we talk about, you know, some way to protect him and things like that, you know, because it's all right what you tell the media if it's a smoke screen and stuff like that, but if you're still not adjusting your training a little bit, not trying to ease the pressure of, you know, you're still walking in the gym saying, I'm taking headshots like when I was 20, I don't care, you know? I mean, at some point, you know, and this goes for everything from buying a red Corvette to the girl you date to whatever. What's cool when you were 20 isn't cool while you're 30. And I guess it goes for, you know, gym practices and trying to extend your career. At 20, you're just trying to start your career.
Yeah.
You'll do anything. Yeah. At 30, you're looking to extend your career. Max has already had a pretty good one. You need to adjust some things. It's not cool to just be doing it the way you used to do it. So I hope all of that is going out there so that, you know, things don't turn into a story from my nightmares. You know?
Agreed. Hey, I've got to take off. We've got a lot of stuff to do. Thank you, everybody who watches. We love you guys. We appreciate everything. But listen, if you don't subscribe, we can't continue to do this. If you don't subscribe, we can't continue to ride. It doesn't rhyme, but we'll think of something cool. So hit that little red button right down there. Where am I at? Hit the little button. It's a little red button right down there below us on YouTube that says subscribe. And subscribe to us so that we can continue to, I mean, you can like and comment and all that stuff. That's great. But subscribe. Yes, I'm pandering. This is my shameless pander to ask you to subscribe to help us continue to do what we're doing, because we love this. And I get letters and messages all the time about people saying, hey, I love the show. Miguel's a genius and blah, 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 and I've been using you guys to do my picks, and I've completely altered the way I do this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I appreciate all that. That's great. And we love that people are signing in, that you're really tuning in, and we're gaining every day. But if you don't subscribe, we can't stick around, because we have to have subscriptions in order to keep doing this. We have to have a source of finances to do this. So please subscribe below and help us do what's right. Miguel, anything before we go?
No, it's been a great podcast. I'm happy to bring a little light to UFC 231. I think it's got the makings of a great card. The undercard's going to be really good too.
Indeed.
So there's not any reason to miss it, and hopefully, you know, the cautionary tale or the cautionary asterisk I put out there is much ado about nothing.
Okay. Namaste.
Can you find it? A shovel. Good thinking.
Oh my god.
Every time I'm in the street, I hear
and down. Where you from?
Bruh.
Oh shit, okay.
Hit him once, hit him two times, hit him three times. Let's go.
Bitch got my phone. Get your ass back with me.
Beat, pow, if you don't know about me, pow, better ask someone quickly, cause pow, yeah, I'm pow, you know, pow, yeah.
Oh shit, okay.
What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy!
It was at this moment that Emily knew. She fucked up.
no. She wasn't ready.
Coming this summer, who needs fists when you have a shovel? White Keisha the movie, rated R.
Okay, kids, go out and have a fun time. Holy shit, I'm getting the fuck out of here.